Hey guys, welcome to the show. Have a great show here for you today. If you have not subscribed to us or left a review for us on iTunes, please, please, please go to iTunes, leave a review, subscribe. It helps us move up the charts, allows more people to see and hear what's going on here at SideQuest Podcast. Also, if you have not checked out our website, please go check out the website. It's up, it's running, the blog is up. Leave your comments. I want to know what you think. SideQuestPodcast.com. Again, we're on Facebook, like us there. Twitter at SideQuestFM. Instagram, SideQuestFM. And Google Plus at SideQuest Podcast. And email us, SideQuestPodcast@gmail.com. So please enjoy the show. And don't forget, subscribe, like us. Let me know what you think. Enjoy the show, guys. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I have a great guest here today. I have Miss Jessi Kneeland of RemodelFitness.com. She was voted one of the top 30 fitness or people in the fitness industry under 30 by Fitocracy last year. She is a New Yorker and works and lives and plays and enjoys the city of New York. Jessi, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Tell me a little, our listeners a little about yourself. Where you're from, how you kind of got started in with all this, a little bit of a background of who Jessi Kneeland is.
Okay. So I come from upstate New York by Syracuse, and I did theater, and I always wanted to do musical theater, so I did a dance program between high school and college. I took a year off to do a dance program. And so I didn't play sports or anything. I'm sorry, my voice sounds terrible. I'm just realizing. I didn't play sports or anything. I was actually like the least athletic person that anyone had ever met. My friends would always like joke that the mile run day for me in gym class was like my nightmare day. Like nothing worse could ever happen than someone telling me I had to run a mile. So I loved to dance because I loved theater and I wanted to sing and dance and act. And then I came to New York to do theater. I came here for NYU for acting. And somewhere in there, I just kind of fell into a personal training job at Valley Total Fitness, which is a super random.
It's okay. That's where my gym membership was when I lived in New York.
Well, it's kind of shady, but they hired me. The guy actually was like, are you certified? I was like, oh no, I don't even know what personal trainers do. But they hired me and I got my certification while I was, working there. And then, I just kind of, I fell in love with it somewhere along the way. I realized that this wasn't something that I like the idea of having like a flexible job, but I fell in love with working one-on-one with people. And as I started getting more and more into the science of it and the lifting and everything, and I realized how much power lifting weights has over, particularly for women, over self-esteem and the ability to help boost people's confidence. And I felt like I was good at it, like I could really communicate with people. So I decided to not do anything with acting anymore, and I switched fully and launched my website, and now it is my obsession. So.
Okay. I, too, have a degree in theater and moved to New York to pursue my dreams of whatever I was pursuing.
Uh-huh.
And it's a struggle. So kind of going off on that, there's a lot of people who I guess aren't familiar with what that world is like, and even that world in and of itself is very image based. My wife does musical theater, and she has struggled with that in professional ranks and things that she's done. So did that influence you? Because I know you have a big your philosophy is, being happy with who you are and the body that you're in and finding strength, through making healthy choices, but loving who you are.
Right.
Did some of that in theater kind of influence, how you came about to that philosophy in fitness?
I don't know. It's hard to say because I think I've always felt this way, but I didn't do, like a lot of times little girls who start with ballet and they're doing ballet the whole way up, they end up with weight and, self-esteem issues with their bodies because they've been taught that there's one way to look and it's long and it's light and it's lean and all these things. And
Right.
I didn't do any of that. I didn't actually come to dance until I was 18-ish. I mean, I'd taken some classes here and there, but I hadn't really like done any sort of like serious commitment to it until I was 18. So I only really had such a short period of time to get immersed in it. And I think I was very lucky. I grew up in a very body positive household, I feel like I've always kind of had this side of me that believed in loving your body, loving yourself, connecting to something that means more than just how you look. And
Right.
I
Right.
was always taught as a little kid, like just because you're a girl doesn't mean anything. Like you can do anything, you can be anything. You don't have to just be pretty. And I think that that was always a core fundamental thing I had. And then it translated into the fitness world really well because I'd get these girls coming in and saying like, like, do you see this? Do you see this? This is why I don't have a boyfriend. Like it became very clear immediately how much people's identities are wrapped up in their body issues, and how much they're holding them back. So I don't know.
I have questions. I have a ton here on my phone that I'm just kind of going through, but I also enjoy listening and thinking of questions as the conversation goes along.
Okay.
And kind of on that, this is something that I struggle with, and to our listeners out there, I think anyone that is a man who is in a relationship can at times struggle with this. And I read an article that you had, a blog you had up about, some of the people that have come to you with some of the things that men have said to women. And
Yeah.
it blew me away that at least the one where the guy said, you need to lose here. Like he stood his girlfriend up and pointed out where she needed. And to me, I cannot fathom someone saying that. But I know in my own life, indirectly, things I say or things I do, or when I talk about the gym or lifting or losing this or losing that, it might influence someone. So what do you think men do not understand about women when it comes to losing weight? Like, what do we just not get?
Well, that's a tough question. I never really think about it from that kind of point of view. I don't know. The thing is, I never want anyone to feel paralyzed by trying to be too PC, like I find myself even being as culturally aware of all these things that you should not be saying.
Right.
And I feel very strongly that, like, for example, you should never comment on someone's body unless it's a compliment. And even then, I think it's really tricky because people intend to say compliments all the time. People are always telling me, like, wow, you're so tiny. And they mean it like a compliment. But that, to me, does not line up with things I'm intentionally trying to be. So
Right.
I don't hear a compliment, even though it was intended to be one. So I think even then, I almost kind of wish people would just stop complimenting each other, just stop talking about it. But you can't really do that. And it would be a huge waste of brain power to try. So I don't really know I don't know what men are missing. I mean, I certainly, when I hear stories like the one in that particular blog post, I hear stories like that from clients, and it makes me, it's so upsetting. It's just so wildly upsetting. And the thing is that it's not my place to be like, that's crazy. Like
Right.
you, to my clients, I'll be able to be like, wow, that seems like a really bad idea. And if I were you, I wouldn't allow someone to do that to me. Why do you think you let him do that to you? That's crazy. But I can't be like, are you kidding me right now? Like, what is wrong with your boyfriend? He's the worst person ever. So, I try to like just gently say like, wow, would you want a friend of yours to feel that way? That doesn't seem like how anyone should ever have to feel.
Okay, all right. So I don't mean to throw the tough ones out at you at first. It was just, I was reading through your blog and I was thinking about it in my personal life, and I don't know. I felt like I can't really ask my wife that because it doesn't always get the best answer or reply, and she, so I thought I'd ask someone who.
I wish I had an answer. I think that, I guess one thing I would say would be this. It's that we know that we're not like, I don't know how it is to be a guy, so maybe it's exactly the same and this is just the human condition. But like we know when it's not logical with our brains, we can literally look in the mirror and say, I probably look almost exactly the same as I did yesterday.
Right.
That doesn't change the fact that, like, as our insecurities are coming up for whatever reason, that it can feel like monumental. It can feel huge, and to have that downplayed feels shitty because then you feel crazy, and to have that reinforced in any way makes you feel awful. So I don't really know. I guess there's no advice there. There's just maybe more awareness of, I don't know, the experience.
Okay. I got you. So be a little more aware of your interactions with everyone in every day. And I do like your thing about complimenting, because I too, I know sometimes you tell people that, and people just give you a look of like, thanks, I'm all right, and everyone gets kind of self-conscious. But all right, so what moment are you the most proud of in your business, in fitness, or in life? Like, what was the most proud moment in either one of those?
Business, fitness, or life?
I mean, moving to New York is, I'll be honest, and surviving there, that's a pretty proud moment for me, because being a guy from the South who grew up in the woods and then going to New York, it was its own different worlds.
For sure. Well, so I'm from a really small town, like lots of cows, people, there's a drive your tractor to school day, if that means anything.
Was there really a drive your tractor to school
every
day?
year? People do. They really do.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
On the first day of hunting season, like half the boys of the senior class are gone because they're hunting.
Right.
So it just like that to me, I never really thought about it being such a small town until I moved here, and I always thought I was really tough and I would be fine, but like it was a huge adjustment moving here for me. I wouldn't say I was proud of it. I just knew I had to, and also I think I'm way more proud now because I'm happy here than I was that I just showed up. I think 8 years ago I just showed up, and now I've really made a life that I can believe in and actually thrive in. One of the biggest things for me was launching my website in the first place, because I had only like a year or so earlier decided that I wasn't going to do anything with acting anymore. And that was a big load off. Like I wasn't doing a lot of acting, but I was constantly feeling guilty about not doing a lot of acting.
Right.
So just to like give myself the freedom to say, hey, spend that energy on what you really want to be spending it on, which was training. It was a huge liberating experience for me to just fully give that up. And so then I set about doing the website and creating what I wanted it to look like and feel like and what my message was, and trying to boil down my message and getting really clear with myself about why I'm in this business and why do I feel so strongly about it and what do I want to say. So it was a really big process, and the whole time I always kind of had it in the back of my mind, like, this is going to fail. There's no way this really works. Like, It's a nice little side project, but this is impossible. And I launched it, and I started blogging, and I started taking clients online, and it worked. And one of the best advice I was given was, really in the beginning of the process, I reached out to someone else who has an online business. I was like, how do you start? What do you do? She was like, well, you start, and then you fuck it up, and then you do it better. Like, that's, you learn on the fly. Like, she literally just said, like, you're gonna do horribly for sometimes. Sorry. Like, there's no better advice than that. It's not gonna be perfect. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Just do it. Start. See what happens. And I've really found that to be true. So, like, the launch was the biggest, most proud moment for me, because I just trusted that it wasn't perfect, but it would get better, and that what I had to say was important enough. That I was going to fight through the fact that it's terrifying at times and stressful and overwhelming at times. And so, I don't know, that would be the proudest moment probably.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your website. It's remodelfitness.com. So you left Bally's. Was it the Bally's on 34th Street?
No, it was on 21st-ish or 20th. It's not there anymore, though.
Okay, yeah. Okay, was that the one that was, yeah, it was. I always kept waiting for like some crazy earthquake to happen when I was swimming in the pool, because I was like, no one's getting out of here. So you moved from there, and now you're training at a private gym, and you have your online clients. So let's just talk a little about your online business. When did you first kind of get that inkling, that idea? Was it seeing other people who were successful at it, or were you just kind of like, I want to be my own boss and do my own thing?
Well, I'd been my own boss for a while in terms of like making my own schedule and, I manage my own clients and everything. So it never really even occurred to me that I would be able to like be more in control. I think I was actually surprised by how much more control over my life and my choices I had once I really started digging into the website. What I really just thought was I can't affect people. I can't affect enough people, and I can't affect them the way I want to in person. And a couple of reasons for that. One is that like every time I see a client in person, we're training, we're
Right.
working on, like I'm cueing, we're coaching, we're getting stronger. We're obviously always chatting or whatever. We're in communication, and sometimes we'll be working on other habit things, and we'll talk a little bit about nutrition or rest or whatever. But for the most part, it's about the physical training. And I felt limited by that because I think so much of what I want to say, it expands beyond that, and it goes into like what your emotional experience is about the training at large. And so I wasn't really sure how I was going to make that message any clearer to my in-person people. And also just I'm limited by how many people I'm willing to take a day or a week or a month.
Right.
So I started to feel like I'm like plugged into everyone else in the industry that I could find. Anyone whose stuff was worth reading, I start following and I keep up with because A, because it's really interesting to me, and B, just because I want to see where the gaps are of what's being said, because to me there are huge gaps in what needs to be said and what people need to hear. And when I do find people who are saying what I think needs to be said, then I'm even more excited. And, I reach out to those people, and I've met some really close friends this way by being just online reading because I'm obsessed. But basically, but because the whole thing came about because I started feeling stronger and stronger that I think women need to hear that they shouldn't be training to get smaller, and they shouldn't be I just think that the way we're putting it right now, with the aesthetics being the whole point of fitness for most people, especially for women, is so backwards, and it's screwing everybody over, because then no one's ever happy, even though they get their results. A lot of times I've seen so many people, it's like, women who get in shape for their weddings, for example. They don't really, they're like, great, I got these awesome photos, but they didn't fix anything, and they go right back to what they did once they stopped those habits, and they feel shitty about themselves the next year when they look at those photos. I feel like you're setting yourself up for failure to do it that way, and I really, really wanted to affect just the masses, and the only way to do that was to go online. So I started a blog. Way before I started my website, I started a blog, and just started kind of trying my hand at writing, and discovered that I really love it, and I just kind of went from there, I guess.
Okay. So you mentioned, the gaps and kind of telling people what needs to, you want to find what needs to be said. And I think that's kind of where that was my idea with this podcast, is coming from an area that's not preachy or belittling or makes people feel guilty, but people still struggle with making that first choice, that first step. And you have a great blog, and I'm going to link it in the show notes along with the video for This Is Water. And I probably watched that 3 times in a row.
Isn't it amazing?
It's
so
just
incredible.
So good, because I feel like I connected with that, because there were I love going to the grocery store and just putting music on and thinking. Like, it's like a time for me to just chill, and yeah, I see all this crazy stuff going on, but it gives me a moment. I've gotten really into like Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, in the last few months, and it just kind of gives me a chance to like kind of practice that moment of I can't control what's happening right now. What can I control? That's what I need to focus on. So what do you think those gaps are? What do you think the fitness industry needs to do, or that you want to do, to get a message out to people about getting in better shape, living healthier lives? And as you kind of put, what was it? Sorry, my phone totally. Being a smoking hottie. Hold on. Slamming hottie while living a non-restrictive life. Explain that a little bit into like what your philosophy is, and where those gaps are, and what gaps you're trying to fill with, bringing down the whole like aesthetic image, look like this supermodel kind of thing.
Right. So to me, I think right now, because of marketing and mainstream media, and especially women's magazines, I think they're the worst offender of this. The emphasis is always placed, it's an automatic point of view. So no one ever questions it or even points it out. And I think nobody even notices this is how it's put. But it's an automatic point of view that you are, that your most important job is to exist, like that you exist for others. So your most important job is to please others. And it's specifically, I mean, obviously, like for being sexy and like the, like sex tips of Cosmo, that kind of thing. It's like the whole point. They always are putting the emphasis on like how you can please someone else. No one's ever like, how can you really like get in touch with what you have going on internally for you. And I think that automatic point of view is so damaging, but it's everywhere, and we can't get away from it. So I think that is one huge gap that I want to address and change and say, fitness is not about an aesthetic thing because, I'm sorry, it's actually two things. It's a little complicated because to me, it shouldn't be an aesthetic thing only because that aesthetic is usually for someone else. Never does a woman come and say like, or they'll often say, I just want to do this for me, which is fine. But I find that often that's not really true because they've just internalized what is going to make them feel more comfortable is for other people to think they look good. And so I think that trying to reverse that a little bit by bringing awareness to the fact that we shouldn't have to base any of our success on what other people think of us in the first place. And I think in order to do that, it's such a huge thing, and it has so many fingers in different areas, that fitness is just one, and however I can affect that, I would like to. But specifically this idea that the experience is done for some purpose outside of you. And I think that's not true, because I think when it's done for some purpose outside of you, you fail. Eventually you'll fail. You can get great results in the short term because I think we're capable of immense feats of willpower under the right circumstances and motivation. And sometimes we just get lucky and we kind of find a routine, or we find like a couple meals that are really healthy, that are really satisfying, or our schedule is nice and open or whatever. And we can get these great results, and then we think, oh, I did it, I solved that problem. But you didn't, because ultimately you didn't ever really do it for you, for your internal experience.
Right.
And so it bounces back, and then you're doubly frustrated later whenever that's done, because then you feel like you failed again, and it's like it's a horrible cycle. And I think the only way to break it really is to put the aesthetic and the idea of pleasing anyone else on the back burner and focus on what it is in you that gets you just boiling over with love and joy and passion and the things that really connect you to something big. Because when you're a really satisfied person whose life is interesting and challenging and it's full of your drive and your passion, it gives you a reason to get up in the morning, well, then you don't drag your feet through your day, and you're not sluggish, and you don't resist things, and you don't crave replacements. So things like bad for you foods or too much foods, or other vices that people have that I think take down your fitness. I feel like a lot of them are the result of not fully finding what makes you happy, not fully going after the things that you believe in, whatever. So that's a lot, and I know it's a lot, and I'm still working on how to like make that into manageable bite-sized pieces that I can help people attack. But those are some of the gaps, because right now you would think, from reading a magazine on fitness, you would think that being happy and looking good are only connected because when you look good, you'll be happy. And right. I think it couldn't be more backwards.
Right. No, I totally agree. I think there are plenty of people out there who, would say the same thing, that for men, we don't have to look like the guy on Muscle and Fitness, and we don't have to look like the guy on GQ or whatever. I mean, I did that once, and my wife was like, "Meh,
yeah,
get some fat on you. I like you a little plumpier." Yeah. I'm like, "What? Okay, all right."
Well, that's super interesting, because I will often encourage clients to reach whatever like goal it is that they think is going to make them so happy, in for the express purpose of seeing that they're still not happy. Because
Right.
you can hang it over your head for the rest of your life that it's just 5 more pounds, and if only you would do it, you'd be happy. And then you never get to find out. Turns out you just weren't going to be happy anyway. So I kind of really encourage people to get there, to like hit their GQ levels or whatever,
Yeah.
like see it. And then take an internal check-in. How do you feel? Oh, you're still not happy, because you're not. No one
Right.
is. So I feel like I do often sometimes take that approach with people where I'm like, great, let's hit that first, then we'll talk. I already know what the outcome is probably going to be. I mean, most of the time it's the same, and they're like, huh, I'm actually just as lost, and I haven't figured anything out, and I still don't have, a better job or whatever the thing was they thought they would get.
Right. Right. So I want to talk a little more about your site and your business. So people come to you online, or they come to you in the city, and it's a woman who maybe doesn't has never touched weights in her life. And I know you came from a dance background, and it's for guys, at least this is my experience with male dancers, is they usually lifted a lot of weights because they had to lift women above their head or do things like that. But women weren't necessarily lifting a lot of weights in the gym. So a woman comes to you and says, I don't know, like she's uncomfortable with that idea. How do you ease her into it? What do you challenge her with to let her know that you're not going to look like, She-Hulk from Marvel, right, but you're going to be strong, and being strong leads to confidence, and so how do you work that into a conversation? What do you do?
Well, one of the main pillars of being a trainer is meeting people where they are. So I can explain all day long that, like, I lift heavy and often and for years. That's actually probably the main thing I say, is I just go, well, look at me. Well, I'm fine. We're fine. Everybody's fine. It's like the fastest way I can get through that conversation. But I think no matter what I explain, they still have to see and hear and feel it out for themselves. So for the most part, I just give a quick explanation on how, the science pretty much shows you we can't look like She-Hulk. So,
right.
And then from then it's just a trust me. Like, give me a month. Just trust me. Because the thing is, how's it been working for you? It didn't. You're here. You're really willing to pay me a lot of money. So whatever you were doing, it wasn't making you feel good. It wasn't giving you what you wanted. So try it my way. And I really believe, like, I'll adjust. If for some reason you're one of the very small percentage of women who legitimately can just get jacked, I'll eat my words, and I look forward to that day, because that would be great. I would be super psyched about it. But, like, that is something we adjust as we go along. So in the first month, it's all about just, like, I'll start slow. I give them basic things if they've never lifted. I'm not putting them under a barbell or anything, but just getting them to feel the muscles, activate things that they never, start to bring awareness to posture and which movement patterns they feel good in, and just a lot of really basic stuff, while I'm just asking them to trust me. And
Gotcha.
Usually it's easy because they see the results and feel the results pretty quickly. If they've never done it before, they'll be like, wow, like, I feel great. And then that's all I really need is, I just need a little trust, and then a little bit of that kind of positive reinforcement as it goes along.
Gotcha. So what is or was your greatest failure, and what did you learn from it?
Failure? It's a good question. It's funny because the turnover as someone who takes, like, one-on-one clients, it can be like, some of my clients I've had since Bally's, like, for years and years, and like 6 years now. But a lot of them come and go, and a lot of times, it's like seasonal, or people do it for a short period of time, and they feel like they really learn how to do it, and they go out back on their own and try it that way or whatever. So I'd say that I don't really consider it a failure, but I've learned so much from every client that I've lost, because in a lot of ways it allows me to go fresh into a new client with new communication and goals, and just learn from, like, what I didn't do with that other client, because I teach them how to approach it, the whole thing, the whole system. So if I lose a client, then I know I maybe didn't approach, or I didn't teach them the right approach, and I think we can do better. Or if someone falls off and is like, I quit. This is too hard. I feel like I failed, and it happens. It has happened many times over the years. But I don't see it really as a failure, because that just means like I am able to readjust how I approach the whole thing. And when I get warning signs, I'm like, this person, we need to scale it back. It needs to feel easier. They need to feel better about it for longer, even if that means slowing down the progress or whatever. So I feel like it's always just kind of just a learning as turnover of clients happens. I don't consider it a failure, but there have been many. So.
Right, and I guess as you were kind of talking there, I realized failure might sound a little too negative to some people. Maybe like mistakes works a little better, because I think, looking for things that you've done, that you've learned from, not necessarily like failure and now I'm, yeah. So a few more questions here. So I noticed you have a tattoo on the forearm. What does the tattoo mean, and why that tattoo?
Well, I apologize for the fact that I tend to monologue anyway, and it's very hard for me to boil this down, but I will try. So it's, let's see if I can show you, it's right here. So it says Benevolent Universe, and basically, I always thought I was an atheist, like a real chip on my shoulder atheist. I grew up in an atheist household, and I was like, if you believe in anything that science hasn't proven, you're an idiot. And I was very negative about a lot of things, and just generally unhappy with a lot of things in myself and in my life. I felt like I didn't, it was like, especially when I was trying to act and not succeeding at that. There was a lot of things that just felt like they weighed on me all the time. I felt like I was very much in my own way. But even though I consider myself an atheist, I read a lot of fiction. I'm very imaginative, and I would often use very made-up words that I'd say like, oh, I believe in magic, and people would be like, but you don't really, right? I'd be like, who cares? It doesn't matter. So, or like I would say, my mom actually asked me in high school, I always said I was a superhero, that I had superpowers that I had. And I always said that, and my mom was like, at some point in high school, she's like, no, I don't mean to imply that you're insane, but like, I need to hear from you that you don't really think you're a superhero. Well, Mom, I can't say that to you, because I really kind of do, but not in a way that I can explain to anyone else, just in a way that makes sense in my own head.
Right.
Anyway, the moral of the story is, this last year, when I turned 27, almost a year ago, I was going through a breakup, and I had finally basically owned the fact that I'm really not an atheist, and that I had just kind of been dancing around that for a lot of years. So I owned that I was spiritual, and I started embracing that in a lot of ways. And along with that just came this like massive freedom that a lot of what I'd been trying to be normal and like resisting, and just a lot of things just blew wide open all at the same time, like all within a week, pretty much. It was catastrophic, but also really, really incredible. And it led to every single change, basically, that I'm now happy I have in my life. And the name for this revolution, the way that I put it for myself, was that I now believe that there's a benevolent force in the universe, that there's a force for good and only for good. And trusting that, whether or not that's true, doesn't really matter to me, trusting that there is only a force for good, and that every single thing that happens, including all the bad stuff, is a part of that force for good, has changed how I approach absolutely everything. So it's more an outlook than anything else, but it's made me happier than anything else that's probably ever happened to me. So I was commemorating it, and I wanted it to be as a reminder. So.
Okay, cool. A couple more little tough ones, I guess you can call them, and then I'll hit you with a few quick fire questions. What is your toughest challenge, either with diet, fitness, life, business? What is the toughest thing that sometimes you just hate to do or scares you?
Right. Oh, there's so many.
Dating in New York City. Yes, I know. Everyone is terrified of it.
I'm not even gonna say that one. I'm okay with it. It's, I think I have like a positive attitude. So a lot of things that that I'm not good at still feel good because I'm psyched about having the challenge. Dating
Right.
is one of them, honestly. I feel grateful for all the things that I'm bad at because they give me purpose and a reason to keep learning and moving forward. So some things that I really struggle with for sure is there's a sense that I'm not doing enough, or a sense that um, I guess not doing enough is kind of the thing, or not doing the right things, or not whatever. And it happens the most when I'm writing, where I get like super amped and I go into this like manic rage when I'm blogging. And it feels really good, and I get done with it. I close my computer and I'm like, yes, and then I go and I try to open it up for a second draft like the next day or 2 days later, and I just read what I wrote, and I'm like, I'm a horrible writer. I don't know why anybody listens to anything I've ever said. This is garbage. Can't believe this is, like, I think there's the insecurity of just the fact that I'm putting my most personal stuff out there into the world.
Right.
And that I'm not covering it in any way. That's scary. That's scary, and sometimes it's overwhelming, and I feel it also gives me the highs afterwards, because when I post it and people are like, wow, that was so helpful, I really needed to hear that, I'm like, yes, I am, aligned with my mission. Everything's really a lot of highs and lows for me over here. But yeah, so I think the idea that I'm not doing enough, where I sometimes just feel like, God, building a business is so slow. I should be constantly working, but then, if I were to do that, the quality of life would drop and I would get nothing done. And
right.
I'm just trying to find a balance and, be easy with myself and be kind and say, you did everything you could do today, and tomorrow you do the same. And, yeah.
Tomorrow is a brand new day, as my wife tells me all the time. What is the hardest obstacle for success in your opinion, either in goals that you're achieving or that you've seen with clients? What do you think is the hardest obstacle for people to overcome?
Hands down, the hardest obstacle is that people think they want something that isn't what they really want. And I think that is one of my big things with my online clients, is helping them get clearer on what it is that what they actually want,
right,
as opposed to what I think we're very conditioned to think that there are certain things we want. For example, looking lighter or leaner.
Right.
But I think if you were to really get down below your sort of initial goal, the goal is usually something completely different. And so when you're trying to reach something that isn't what you really want, then you can't win. You literally will always fail. So I think that's the biggest obstacle. And I'm always trying to get people like, what's the feeling behind feeling leaner, for example? What's that feeling? What are you chasing by saying that you want to be in better shape? Is it the sense that you like, maybe a sense of well-being that you're not getting, a sense of ownership over your body, a sense of love? Like, do you feel like you're not getting love? Whatever these things are, a lot of times they're big, gooey things underneath, and they're being, approached as though they were a simple kind of surface thing.
Right.
And so not actually being honest with yourself about what your goal is definitely sets people up for failure. And I think that it's the main obstacle, and I see it all the time. I do it myself too, where if I'm like, why did I just fail at that thing? Almost always the answer is because what I really wanted was not what I was saying to myself that I wanted.
Right, right. Okay, I like that. I like that. A few quick fire questions here before we end the interview. What was your dream job when you were 6 years old?
I wanted to be a pediatrician.
Okay, okay. What is your favorite body weight exercise?
Body weight exercise. I don't know. I love them all. It's hard. It's probably sprinting. I'm going to say sprinting because, God, that feels...
All right. What are you reading or watching on Netflix right now? Not that you read on Netflix, but...
Right. I'm reading a science fiction book called Stranger in a Strange Land, and it is goddamn delightful. It is
nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see here. Last. All right. Who inspires you in the fitness world and or the non-fitness world?
Oh. In the fitness world, I have so many inspirations. I couldn't even begin to name them all, but a lot of the women who are doing work in online, really inspire me on a daily basis. So like the Girls Gone Strong, for example, Nagar Fanuni, Molly Galbraith, Jill Fit. There's so many women doing work that I believe in, and they inspire me because they're doing it and they're out there and they're putting themselves out there too. In the non-fitness world, my mom.
Oh,
yeah,
that's sweet. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, you were a '90s girl. NSYNC or Backstreet?
I lived under a rock. I'm sorry.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh man! Oh, I hit our first guest Chuck Gross with that, and he was like, "Yeah, I gotta go Backstreet." All right, fine. Then I hit you with
it's
my
a good
favorite
question, but I wasn't allowed to watch TV. I grew up very sheltered.
Okay. I'll ask you my favorite question then. What guilty pleasure do you have on your workout mix that you shy away from telling people is on there?
Well, I won't shy away from telling anybody it, but I like really trashy pop music, all of it. I love it, all of it. And I'll tell people, but also I love really, really filthy hip hop too. Like I'm all over the map with my music, and I'll never lie about it. I don't consider it a guilty pleasure. It's just a pleasure, and I know that it makes me sound crazy, but sometimes I'll be like rocking out so hard, and someone will be like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Katy Perry. How good is that?"
Oh, it's okay. It happens to everyone every once in a while. There's that song you start singing along to, and you're like, "Why am I singing?" You know what? Whatever. I like it. I'm gonna sing along.
It's chemically designed to feel good. Why do people feel guilt about that?
Right. I think that's the thing. Is like like I grew up with a dad who loved classic rock, and classic rock kind of still had that undertone of like classical music where they understood how music moved, and now you just get it's the same key, it's the same like melody.
Yep.
Cool. Well, if people want to find you online, Jessi, where can they find you? Where can they find your blog? And if they want to get in contact with you and want to sign up, where can they find you on the intranets?
My website is jessikneeland.com, and there's a coaching page. Is how you sign up for my coaching program. There's a little application you can fill out there. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, or what's the other one? Facebook page, Remodel Fitness NYC. Yeah, that's it.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming on. I enjoyed it. Had a good time. How is New York City in the fall this year? Is it like actual fall weather?
Oh, are you not here? Where are you?
I'm in Richmond. My wife got into grad school 2 years ago, so I have moved from Washington Heights and no longer in NYC. So
okay, it's the best fall in 8 years. It's amazing.
I mean, there was that one winter where it was pretty awful, and that one summer, but there was a fall where I was like, this is like the South. It's like 70 degrees. There's no like fall
it's either
whatsoever.
that or it's like we have summer and then a little bit more summer and then just a flood of rain and then all the leaves are dead.
Yeah. Like, and then there's no color change in Central Park. It's just there's a rainstorm. It washes them all away.
This is the first color change I've seen, honestly, in New York.
Cool.
Sorry.
Well, thank you again for coming on. And if anyone out there is interested, please check out Jessi. She has great posts, especially for the ladies that are out there that are listening. She has great encouraging words. I'll post that video for This Is Water. As I said, it's fantastic. I'm probably going to go watch it again now.
Do it.
Because it's just so touching. So, Jessi, thank you for coming on. I wish you good luck with everything, and hopefully New York City doesn't get too cold this winter.
Well.
no more polar freezes.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.